I was really intrigued by a story
It's great to be with you
featuring you, suggesting that you think that teenagers' social media use should be capped at 2 hours, which was intriguing because I feel that Labour is trying to water down plans to ban mobile phones in schools. Why cap social media hours when you could just ensure that pupils' learning throughout the school day isn't hindered by being on a mobile phone?
I've never tried to stop any withdrawal of use of phones in school hours. Quite the contrary. Children should not have smartphones in schools, and actually 97% of schools at the moment don't have or allow smartphones in there. But what I have been doing is looking at what the child experience is, the youth experience is these days online. We talk a lot about the health of young people offline in the real world, if you like. My starting point for this is trying to figure out what actually incentivises healthy behaviour online. We do need to nail down a few key issues when it comes to safety and security online for young people and all people online, but I also want to look at measures that can incentivise a much healthier life online. So I am looking at those measures. I can't wait to come back to you and talk about them when I'm ready to announce them. But you can see that I'm thinking very deeply about what the youth experience is these days and how we incentivise the best of the internet whilst protecting young people from the worst of it.
All right, but I'm confused on what you're saying about a mobile ban in schools, because the Safer Phones Bill has been watered down to not include that provision, and there's nothing in the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill either. So is Labour banning mobile phones in schools or not?
Sorry, the bill you mentioned was a private member's bill. It was not a government bill. I haven't watered anything down. The government is very clear. Smartphones should not be used in schools.
So are you banning them?
97% of schools don't allow... Well, 97% of schools don't have them in there already. So the directives that are coming out of government, and we have been clear with directives to schools that they shouldn't be allowing smart schools in schools. So what you're saying is, do we legislate for it? Well, actually, we've got a lot of powerful legislation coming through, particularly on crime and order and others. But if we can stop smartphones from being in schools by directing schools not to allow them, then I think that works.
But it's non-binding on schools, so schools can choose whether the children have the phones in class or not, whereas legislation providing for a ban in schools, which is something that other countries have done, we've even had Australia banning social media for under-16s, would make sure that there are no mobile phones in schools. Legislation would be better than a directive, wouldn't it, Mr. Carr?
Well, we've already stopped school phones being used in schools. As I said, 97% of schools already ban phones from being used in school hours. So I honestly, if you think that, right now we have some real urgent pressures on our parliamentary time, and I think parents would expect us to be out there to nail down the safety and security issues of our country at the moment, that we can focus on defence at the moment, that we focus on those really tough issues of getting growth into our economy, for which we all need to legislate for. But we are stopping schools using mobile phones in school hours. I'm looking very carefully about how I, from the technological perspective, can incentivise a focus on learning and a focus on more healthy activity online for children and keep them safe. So this is a government that's actually rigorously focused on these things.
OK, I mean, you're absolutely right to say that this audience will certainly want you to be defending the UK. Can you be taken seriously on defence, though, when you can't even control Britain's own borders? Again, record boat crossings, and Labour's response to record boat crossing is, oh, they're only coming because of the weather.
It was the last Labour government that increased spending on defence to 2.5%. It was the Tory government that scrapped that target, and they cut right through our military. It is this Labour government that is increasing our spending once again to 2.5% and has aspirations to go even further than that. So when it comes to defending our country, your viewers can rest assured that whether it is policy, whether it is financial investment, whether it is a steadfast determination to protect our country via our armed forces, it is this government which is delivering.
OK, but what about defending our borders? Labour haven't been doing a very good job of that, have they? Smashing the gangs. We've got more people coming here by dinghy across the Channel than ever before in history, after nearly a year of Labour being in power. So you can't blame the Tories for the last year. It's on your watch.
What you've seen is a reduction in the number of hotels being used to house asylum seekers. Not enough. We need to go much further, and we will go further. What you have seen is an increase by 1/3 of the number of asylum seekers that are being returned from our country. We are getting a grip on our asylum system. We have a long way to go, but the absurdity of the amount of millions that are being spent on hotels as a result of the failure of the last government that had an open borders experiment, we have to get a grip on that, and we are. Now, it's going to take time because of the global nature of immigration for us to get all of the agreements, not just to be in place because we have a good agreement with France, but for that to be enforced and in action. We are working really hard on that, Camilla. I can tell you, we are rigidly focused on the things that will tackle with the flow of migration and stopping it from happening in the channel because it is good for no one. We are working on the powers that will smash those gangs, and believe me, we will do so.
Well, the French deal, I mean, we've paid the French nearly £500 million, 480 million, for what? French interceptions in the Channel are actually down on Labour's watch. They were 2 years ago 47%. Now they're only intercepting in 38% of cases. What on earth are we spending this taxpayers' cash on?
Well, that cash will be spent on delivery. Now, we have negotiated a deal.
Well, they're not delivering.
That deal that we've negotiated with them is now... That deal that we've negotiated is now being implemented, and we're in the implementation phase. Now, there is a couple of issues there that are completely absurd, and we are working on it. For example, the French are tackling boats when they go into deep water. They are doing some work on the beach, but there is that crucial part of when they're in shallow water, for at the moment, they're not tackling. That is part of our agreement, but that part of the agreement has not yet been implemented. That's what we're working on. We have been in power for 10 or 11 months. We have rehabilitated our relationships with our global partners, and we are using them to deliver deals. 3 trade deals in just 1 month. And these negotiations and deals that we're doing with France on immigration, these are the sorts of things that we'll deliver. But you have to understand, we inherited a broken asylum seeker system. We inherited a system where there was an experiment with open borders.
Let's move on to trade deals.
It can't be done overnight, but believe me, we are striving to make sure we deliver for the country in the way the previous government simply didn't care about.
On trade deals, there's a report this morning that the UK-US trade deal is being stalled because White House has grave concerns about plans for a Chinese super embassy in London. Now, Yvette Cooper and David Lammy are perfectly happy about this Chinese super embassy. Donald Trump isn't.
No, the trade deal is not being stalled. Again, we negotiated, and we were the first country in the world to negotiate a deal with the Trump administration, which made sure we were protected against some of the increases in tariffs that we've seen, but also gives new opportunities into the future. But what we're seeing is that being implemented. Now, America has raised concerns about the Chinese embassy. The Chinese embassy is going through the planning process at the moment, and part of that planning process is nailing down on security. And I want to reassure your listeners and viewers, because I know that your viewers care about these issues. We are very used as a country to dealing with the security challenges posed by some of the diplomatic activity that happens in our country. We are used to it, we work on it, and we do whatever it takes to make sure that people in our country are kept safe and secure. We have very, very good intelligence and law enforcement agencies in this country. They are world class. So we will reassure our American friends who might raise any questions about this.
Those agencies are against the super embassy.
The planning process is a rigorous one, and it takes into account all of the views of all interested parties.
OK, Peter Carr, we need to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for joining